Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand, a podcast for leading financial professionals, or Rainmakers, and their teams that offer support for securing a successful future. From marketing help to staffing structure, listen and subscribe for actionable insights from advisors and skilled professionals alike.
Hello, I'm Matt Seitz, Chief Marketing Officer at C2P. Welcome to our final installment today with our conversation with Jason Smith about his latest book, The Rainmaker Multiplier. In today's episode, we go back behind the scenes on Jason's real-life experiences, strategies, and tools that help shape both JL Smith and C2P. We dive into the lessons learned through major turning points, including Jason's journey through multiple surgeries and how his business not only survived, but thrived in his absence. We wrap up by talking about Jason's deeper mission, which you'll have to tune in to find out. Hope you enjoy. But like you said, giving away, we have, spoiler alert, we have several items in here that we mention in the book, the tools that are used at JL Smith that, I know you mentioned, and I guess the real behind the scenes, even with myself or the aforementioned Jennifer Maggard, they're like, I think we might be giving away too much here. And you're like, no, this is the value we have to provide. Like, we want to, raise the bar across the industry. And so that's why a lot of these are available within the book when anyone is going through there.
Awesome.
So coming back to the book now, the next progression in there, and I love the stories that we're hitting along the way. So you're coming up on that first surgery and you've got the people, the process in place. Was there anything in particular, or maybe, you didn't have full confidence, but was there anything in particular that gave you the confidence of, I know everything's going to be fine while I'm out?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe it's because I just talked about him, but Patrick Lencioni in his book called The Advantage, and actually hired his consulting group called the Table Group a few times to come in and help us, at C2P, with organizational health and leadership initiatives and et cetera. But the book, The Advantage, when I knew I was going out that first time for open heart surgery, I was a little worried about C2P more than JL Smith. Like, I knew JL Smith was, because I had already checked, I don't want to check out, but I had stepped out from meeting with clients.
Done the stress test.
Yeah. And so I knew, that it was going to be okay, going into that first surgery. I was a little bit worried about C2P because it was still in the infancy stages. This is, 8 years ago. C2P started 14 years ago. So it was only 6 years in, and JL Smith much more established, and I had already really not been seeing clients and knew it could run successfully without me. But so what I did is I took the book, The Advantage, and I implemented everything textbook as it taught, and including like the 6 critical questions and all the different tools and concepts you need to, kind of have, for your company to be able to run successfully. And that gave me, tremendous amount of peace of mind, knowing that kind of I's were dotted, T's were crossed. Obviously I had all my own estate planning in place and everything else. But I definitely, going into that first one, and the funny thing is, Matt, though, when I did come out because I was out for 3 months, it was a complicated surgery that I said earlier, the first time wasn't successful. And it was a long recovery process. 3 months later, I literally gave Jennifer Macker at the time my cell phone, and no phone calls, no emails, no anything business related for 3 months, right? Yeah. And you ask yourself, if you checked out of your business for 3 months completely, no communication whatsoever, where would it be? Where do you think it would be? And, for JL Smith, came back second most profitable quarter ever. C2P came back, and it was going through a tough time. I was still kind of a rainmaker, right, at C2P. And it took a big dip, and we had to make tough decisions, layoffs, salary cuts, to make it through. And so, the great thing is, though, having that framework kept things in place like that I talked about. But it took a lot of hard work when I came back to get get things back on track and
Yeah.
get things ramped up and successful again. Now you fast forward to 9 months ago when I had the surgery and, what is it, March right now? And I came back really December, really
Yeah.
fully back in December. It's only been back about 4 months. But when I came back and I sat down with the team and I saw what the team did in my absence, first of all, we had our best year ever last year at C2P and JL Smith. But both companies had their biggest quarter ever while I was out during that 5-month period I was out this time. And so that was, pretty amazing,
Yeah.
to see. And
Point of pride.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And I think too, when you came back,
And it was proof of concept.
yeah,
Like, listen, here's the thing. Prosperity is an RIA, right? And C2P, is what everybody knows us by. It's like, Clarity to Prosperity. It's the company that owns Prosperity, which is the RIA. But at the end of the day, we're an RIA.
yeah,
We have a bunch of financial advisors all over the country that are part of our organization. And but they hang their own shingle, right? They own their own
yeah,
book of business. They own their own business, but they affiliate with us as an IAR and they use our platform and they use our insurance desk and they, utilize the bucket plan and all the processes and systems and training and mentoring and coaching and e-learning modules and everything else that we provide to support them, to help them grow their business. At the end of the day, we're just a big financial services practice that has a bunch of financial advisors that are more on the grid. It's just a big version of my own practice, JL Smith. And so the first business, almost my book of business, JL Smith, was prepared the first time I went out, and all the processes and systems were in full effect for it to run successfully with or without me. The second time that I went out, that time when I went out, Prosperity was ready to, and which was just so cool and so much peace of mind to know that now both companies, have the right people and the right processes in place.
Well, and that's ultimately what this is all about. And I think, it fuels your purpose too, which is helpful to everybody watching, to the groups we work with, is, now both are in order. And, what I know we've talked about your unique ability, what fuels you going out and helping other advisors get to the same place. And now they have options of plugging into a JL Smith where the processes are down, or adapting into PCA to plug into these same ones. So, maybe you could talk about that of how that, no pun intended, fills your heart as you're working with these advisors.
Yeah, and we touched a little bit on this earlier. I mean, at the end of the day, the more advisors that are part of our organization, whether they're part of, Prosperity in a kind of, independent contractor, own their own business, own their own book of business, use us as the backstage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're running their own front stage and affiliating with us in that way, or whether they've rolled their equity in or, are a part of more of like a partner of the firm and, part of the organization in that capacity. Either way, those financial advisors are the ones that are really making a difference working with American families to provide them with a holistic wealth management experience. I mean, really, it's like a family office, but you're working with they don't have enough money to have a family office. And so it's that group of people that are hardworking American families and business owners and executives and doctors and attorneys and other, people that are just doing a great job for people and they're working harder and they're accumulating wealth, but they can't afford to make mistakes. They need that coordinated approach, financial, tax, legal, insurance, all coordinated into one comprehensive and holistic plan. That's what holistic wealth management is. That's what the bucket plan is. And the more advisors we help scale up and grow their business and grow their books and grow their reach in their local communities to help as many American families provide this holistic wealth management experience. Ultimately, we were a part of that and we helped them do that. And we helped, you know, make a difference. And so, it almost makes me emotional, to think about it. But, that's my life's purpose. That's our company's life's purpose. And, I hope I can look down in heaven one day and see where, my partner's great grandchildren and my great grandchildren are working in this organization, carrying that torch forward and continuing to grow the footprint and make a difference.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you very much again for being very open and sharing all this, the behind the scenes stories of what went into the book.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun, Matt. Thanks.
Yeah. And thank you all for tuning in. We hope if you've already read that you've enjoyed the book, or if you haven't yet, be sure we'll drop the details in the links below. But visit c2pe.info/order RMM book. That's c2pe.info/order RMM book. We hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching and tuning in today. If you'd like to dive into Jason's book yourself, you can order that at c2pe.info/order RMM book. We'll also have the link to this in the description below or wherever you're watching or listening today. As a bonus, the book also has an accompanying toolkit that gives you bonus chapters, templates, and more. Don't miss out on that special offer. This is the last episode of our conversation with Jason, but let us know if you enjoyed our new format. We may use it again for future episodes and themes. Thank you for watching or listening to the Rainmaker Multiplier on-demand podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Never miss an episode by subscribing now to discover new resources and strategies. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help scale and secure your business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.